Good morning all. In this video we are going to discuss about organ donation and organ transplantation. You give but little when you give of your possessions. It is when you give of yourself that you truly give. Lord Ganesha is the Lord of good fortune who provides prosperity. His blessings are invoked when a new venture is started. The elephant-headed god, in a manner of speaking, representing a new life. The history of head transplant dates back to the early Hindu mythology, where the Lord Shiva is said to have transplanted an elephant's head on Lord Ganesha, in what is the first recorded instance of transplantation. Today, intensive research in xenotransplantation, that is interspecies transplantation, is underway. The world over myth has become reality. On January 7, 2022, an American, David Bennett, became the first human to receive a transplanted heart from a pig genetically modified to minimize the rejection. In Rigveda, we get references that Ashwini Kumaras performed the first plastic surgery to rejoin the head and trunk of Saint Chavana when Daksha cut his head. Their other classic works include an eye operation of Rijeshwa, the implantation of teeth of Pushna. Ashwini Kumaras were doing both homo and hetero transplantations at the very ancient time of Rigveda, that is 5000 years ago. Such a miraculous magical surgical skills of the Rigveda time may seem mere legends or mystery to modern medical science, and we may not even believe that. Numerous examples of organ donation and transplantation are available in ancient science. So this concept is actually embedded deep in Indian psyche. Bedara Kannappa, a tribal hunter, a devotee of Lord Shiva wanted to test the extent of Kannappa's devotion, and so he made blood pour out of right eye of Linga. Kannappa removed his right eye and used it to cover the bleeding wound. Then the left eye of the Linga began to bleed. Kannappa was about to remove his left eye when he was stopped by Lord Shiva. This was the ultimate act of devotion through donation of a part of oneself. Drona asked Ekalavya to cut off his right thumb as Guru Dakshina. Happy and smiling Ekalavya cuts off the thumb and presents it as Guru Dakshina to Dronacharya. If it were not for this act of donation and devotion, nobody would have ever known Ekalavya. The author of Sushruta Samhita, Acharya Sushruta, was a great surgeon. First reasonable account of skin transplantation and plastic surgery was mentioned in his classic. He used autografted skin in nose reconstruction. This could be seen as reflecting positively on the concept of organ donation and transplantation. Bodies for the purpose of dissection and organs for transplantation surgeries are needed for education of medical students and treatment of cases of end-stage organ failure. World Organ Donation Day is observed on 13th August every year, whereas India has its own Organ Donation Day, that is on November 27th each year. The aims and objectives of this Organ Donation Day is to spread the awareness about the importance of organ donation, to address and debunk myths related to donating organs, to recognize the selfless efforts made towards the mankind and re-establish our belief in mankind. What is organ donation? Organ donation is the process of surgically removing an organ or tissue from one person and placing it to another person. Transplantation is necessary because the recipient's organ has failed or has been damaged by disease or injury. In this picture, you can see Dr. John P. Merrill explains the working of a then new machine called an artificial kidney to Richard and Ronald. Richard and Ronald were twin brothers. The first ever successful living donor organ transplantation was done in 1954 between these twin brothers. Sources of organ donation for transplantation. Living donor transplantation and deceased donor transplantation, there are two ways. Living donor transplantation happens between near relatives like mother, father, son, daughter, brother, sister, spouse. other than near relative donor, such a donor can donate only for the reason of affection or attachment with the approval of the authorization committee. Deceased donor transplantation, two types: donor after brainstem death and after cardiac death. After brainstem death, to keep the heart and other organs working and functional, they will be under ventilator, oxygen or fluids. After cardiac death, practically in Indian scenario, only tissues are donated after cardiac death, but few centers like Chandigarh has started DCD. What happens if you become a donor? When you are admitted to the hospital, the number one priority is to save your life. Two doctors not involved in the organ and tissue donation must declare you brain dead before organ and tissue donation can be considered. And there is no cost to the donor or their family. Who can be an organ donor? Anyone can become a potential organ donor regardless of age, caste, ethnicity or medical history. More than one-third of all deceased donors are age 50 or older and nearly 10% are age 65 or older. All major religions support or permit organ, eye and tissue donation. In 2015, a newborn baby became the youngest ever organ donor after he donated his kidneys to an adult with renal failure. The boy just lived for 100 minutes after being born. The oldest known donor has been in Scotland, where a 107-year-old woman donated cornea after her death in 2016. There are few criteria to accept the organs after donation. Few organs will not be accepted if the death is due to some infections like tuberculosis, HIV, hepatitis or septicemia. After postmortem, after donation of organs, major organs like kidney, liver and heart, if edema is there in body, PET sores, history of uncontrolled diabetes, death due to the cirrhosis of liver, death due to the cancer, death due to the medico-legal cases, death due to renal failure or any signs of putrefaction, foul smell body, from these bodies the organs will not be accepted. Here are the few examples for deceased and healthy organs. This is deceased lung and this is healthy lung. Deceased liver, healthy liver. Deceased kidney, healthy kidney. Deceased heart and healthy heart. Which organs can be donated? Liver, kidney, pancreas, heart, lung, intestine, corneas, middle ear, skin, bone, bone marrow, heart walls, connective tissues can be donated. How do I become an organ donor? You might join a donor registry. A registry is more than just an expression of interest in becoming a donor. It's a way to legally give consent for the anatomical gift of organs, tissue and eyes. Let your family members and loved ones know you would like to be a donor. You might also want to tell your family healthcare provider, lawyer, religious leader that you would like to be a donor. You can visit www.notto.gov.in. When you visit Notto, you can find a few forms like for organ or tissue donation form, from identified living near related donor, for organ or tissue donation by living spousal donor, for organ or tissue donation by other than near relative. Like this, many forms you will get there. By becoming an organ donor, does this mean that I wouldn't be eligible to receive the best medical care possible? Not at all. Your decision to donate does not affect the quality of the medical care you will receive. Are there any costs to the organ donor's family for donation? There is no cost to the donor's family or estate for the donation of organs. If I need an organ or tissue transplant, what do I need to do? If you need a transplant, you need to get on the national waiting list. To get on the list, you need to visit transplant hospital. To find a transplant hospital near you, visit the scientific registry of transplant recipients and use the search function on the top of the page. The transplant hospital's multidisciplinary team will evaluate you and decide if you are a suitable transplant candidate. In addition to criteria developed for some organ types by United Network of Organ Sharing, each transplant hospital has its own criteria for accepting candidates for transplant. If I need an organ or tissue transplant, what do I need to do? If the hospital's transplant team determines that you are a good transplant candidate, they will add you to the national waiting list. You can get on the waiting list at more than one transplant hospital, and UNO's policies do permit multiple listing. However, be sure to check each transplant hospital's guidelines about who will be the primary care provider. There is no way to know how long you will wait to receive a donor organ. Your name will be added to the pool of names when an organ becomes available. All the patients in the pool are assessed to determine compatibility. Organs are allocated according to medical need, blood, tissue type, height and weight. Celebrity status or wealth are not considered. What organization actually manages the distribution of organs? What is the process to receive an organ or tissue? UNOS maintains the National Organ Procurement and Transplantation Network. Through the UNOS Organ Center, organ donors are matched to waiting recipients 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. When an organ becomes available, the local organ procurement organization sends medical, social and genetic information to UNOS. UNOS then generates a list of potential recipients based on such factors as blood type, tissue type, organ size, medical urgency of the patient's illness, time already spent on the waiting list, geographical distance between the donor and recipient. What's involved with becoming a living organ donor? A living donation, such as the donation of one healthy kidney or a segment of healthy liver from a living human being to another, is arranged through the individual transplant centers according to the criteria they have in place. An independent donor advocate, along with the dedicated living donor multidisciplinary team, will represent the interest and well-being of the potential living donor. There are few challenges like administrative challenges, financial challenges, moral challenges and ethical challenges. To overcome these, the Transplantation of Human Organs Act has been made in 1994. Main purpose of the Act is to regulate removal, storage and transplantation of human organs for therapeutic purpose and for the prevention of commercial dealings in human organs. This Act was amended in 2011. Brainstem death is recognized as a legal death in India under the Transplantation of Human Organs and Tissues Act since 1994, like in other countries. After natural cardiac death, only a few organ tissues can be donated, whereas after brainstem death, almost 37 different organs and tissues can be donated, including vital organs such as kidney, heart, liver, lungs. Important amendments under the Act 2011 are as under: tissues have been included along with the organs. Near relative definition has been expanded to include grandchildren, grandparents. Provision of retrieval centers and their registration for retrieval of organs from deceased donors. Tissue banks shall also be registered. Provision of swap donation included. There is a provision of mandatory enquiry from the attendants of potential donors admitted in the ICU, informing them about the option to donate. Provision of mandatory transplant coordinator in all hospitals registered under this Act. To protect vulnerable and poor, there is a provision of higher penalties has been made for the trading in organs. Constitution of Brain Death Certification Board has been simplified. Wherever neurophysician or neurosurgeon is not available, then an anesthetist or intensivist can be a member of board in his place, subject to the condition that he is not a member of transplant team. National Human Organs and Tissue Removal Storage Network and National Registry for Transplant are to be established. There is a provision of advisory committee to aid and advise appropriate authority. Enucleation of corneas has been permitted by a trained technician. National Organ Transplant Program, that is NOTP. Government of India is implementing NOTP for carrying out the activities as per Amendment Act and training of manpower and promotion of organ donation from deceased persons. Solutions provided through NOTP, they are at the apex level, National Organ and Tissue Transplant Organization. For group of states, Regional Organ and Tissue Transplantation Organization, and for a state, individual state, there is State Organ and Tissue Transplant Organization. Organ donation websites are aimed for registration of donor and recipient, awareness, matchmaking and transparency. Through NOTP, training and awareness has been carried out for counselors, institutions, NGOs, physicians, IMAs, school children, etc. These are the few names of road to which are based in Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu, Kolkata, Chandigarh and Assam. The states they cover are mentioned in the table which we can go through. Green corridor, a special route making the route of the hospital where an organ is harvested and the hospital where it is to be transplanted, which is traffic free. It is made since 2014. These are few examples for organ transplantation, how it is done. Deceased layer removed and healthy donor cornea is inserted. Fluid injection holds healthy layer in place. Insert air bubble, then transplant held in place by air pressure. Small incision sealed with the minimal suture. Another example is skin grafting. Skin regulates our heat and fluid and is the body's first defense against germs. In this picture you can see skin is removed from donor using an amalgam. Graft is meshed so that it can stretch to cover a large area. Graft acts as a biological bandage on a burn victim. According to HRSA, 1,05,000 people are on the national transplant waiting list. Every 9 minutes, another person is added to the transplant waiting list. In this picture, you can see patients on the waiting list and transplants performed. Blue bars indicates waiting list and black bar indicates transplants performed. 17 people die each day waiting for an organ transplant. 40,000 plus transplantation were done in India in 2021. About 1.5 lakh deaths happen annually due to road traffic accidents in India. A large number of these cases could be harvested for organs. An organ donor can save up to 9 lives. There is a need to promote deceased organ donation rather than relying on living donors because of risk of commercial trading and inherent risk to the health of living donor. In the list of 10 niyamas, dana comes third. So be a thinker, be a doer, be a donor. Thank you.